Hi there, Sandra here from createinspain, and today's video is hints and tips. Right, I have decided to do a card and I wanted some bumblebees, and I couldn't find an image that I particularly liked, so I designed my own and I've made it into a print and cut. Very easy to do. I happened to do this particular design in Shortcut Slot. I could have just drawn it and done it that way, but I was on my laptop and I was in Shortcut Slot anyway, so I just did it there. Easy peasy. Now what I also did at the time when I drew it was I added an outside line, which if you're using Shortcut Slot could be a cut line or it could be a print line, and I chose to have the entire thing done as a print. However, I've got it saved in Shortcut Slot. I can always change that to a cut line if I want to later. It's not a problem, it's easy enough to do. But it means that if I print it like that, I can then just do a scan of a print and put it in my scan and cut. And hey presto, it's going to cut them out automatically for me because it will see that black line around the edges, as in fact it has done. Now I'm not going to be using all these on one card, and it isn't worthwhile doing a print just to print one little item. So what I have been using is small photo paper cards because I happen to have a load of them. I was given a load, so I've been using these. But they're great size for doing little embellishments like this where you don't want to fill up an entire A4 sheet, or a letter size if you're in the US. Now the other thing that I wanted to do was to have them easily stored so I could find them and use them. And I happened to be lucky. My husband spotted an auction and they were selling a whole load of these little containers for a very cheap price. And so what I've done is I've put a piece of clear sticky tape and one of the bees on the top of here, and I can just put them in my container. And then when I close it up, I'll know exactly what is in it. I have a clear Tupperware box that I put these in, or you could use a plastic bag even if you wanted to. And you can always put a list on that container of what it contains. You can have bees and flowers and whatever it may be, so that you know what you've got in it. And it means you don't duplicate your efforts all the time. Tip number 2, stencil storage. I've yet to actually organise all my stencils because it's only recently that I've had that many of them that I've made. So I am putting them in binders, and I have to get myself some more of these pockets because I don't have enough of them yet. But what I'm doing is I'm putting my stencils in individual pages. Now the reason for this is quite simple. It does help when you want to try and find something if they're individual rather than, as some of mine are at the moment, in multiples. I'm going to store them according to size. So I will have A5 stencils, A4 stencils, and I will then further categorize them into florals, geometrics, repeat patterns, that type of thing, background stencils, all those sorts of things. And that's going to make it a lot easier for me to see what stencils I have and to avoid duplicating what I've already got. This was actually created by painting on a stencil and then putting it through the embossing machine. Now the cutout area of the stencil was the flower. So I've actually put paint, and I just did it with a Tim Holtz blending tool. Put paint onto the stencil itself. It was a plastic stencil out of normal stencil material. And then when I did that, I put the card and the stencil together and ran it through my embossing machine. So this white area, you may not be able to see it too clearly on camera, I can't tell, is actually embossed. And then this is the background that I've ended up with. I think that's a really nice way of ending up with a decent background without having to do much work to get it. Embossing and painting all in one go, yeah, that gets a thumbs up from me. My next tip is also stencil related, but it is scan and cut related more than anything else. In your scan and cut machine, particularly if you have a DX, because I think they have more pans, you will find you have border patterns, which you may or may not want to cut out from paper, that's fine. But don't forget, you can also make stencils from them and use them to do border embossing, which makes a very pretty effect. Now these are cut from 500 micron binder covers and they will give a pretty deep emboss. You can use normal stencil material, you can use normal acetate, you can use thinner binder covers, whatever you can get your mitts on. This is handy because it will last longer, it's a thicker material. And it doesn't make any difference what embossing machine you have, you can still use it to emboss. Also, don't forget that you can use those designs that are in your machine to do embossing with a normal embossing tool and region embossing if that's what you want to do. I have videos on region embossing, I will link them at the end of the video. My final tip for today is on something which you may have around the house, but you may not have considered for the purpose I've been using it. Look at that deep emboss there. That's not bad, is it? Now, if you have the ability to emboss in a manual machine or even in something like the Gemini, you will probably have some kind of silicone mat. Now they can be quite expensive to replace. This is designed to be a non-slip shelf matting. I can buy easily here in quite a large roll for a couple of euros. It's textured on one side and it's smooth on the other. Now aside from the fact that it's rolling up, which I could actually flatten if I took the care to do it, it makes a decent embossing mat. That's it for today and I will see you again soon. Please like, share and subscribe if you haven't already. Take care now.